All right, so today we're tackling a heavy topic, the passing of Liam Payne.
Yeah.
And it's something that obviously has hit a lot of people hard. For those who might not be totally familiar, Liam was, of course, part of One Direction,
Oh, yeah.
had that incredible run, went on to a really successful solo career, young father. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. And I guess our mission today is not to sensationalize this tragedy at all,
No.
but to really see what we can learn from the information that we have available. And we have some interesting stuff here. We have the Buenos Aires police report,
Yes.
but also, and this is not common, we actually have the recording of the emergency call.
We do, and that's pretty unusual in cases like this.
It is, and I gotta say, listening to that, it's chilling, man. You can hear the panic in the hotel manager's voice,
Right.
describing Liam as overwhelmed, talking about how he was tearing the room apart,
Mm.
and that detail about the room that might seem like just kind of a side note.
Yeah. Sure. But it actually becomes, pretty important.
It does,
Yeah.
especially when you look at how the initial police statement. They said that Liam had jumped from the balcony.
Right.
Right, that was their initial statement. But then when the prosecutor releases their report, it contradicts that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, suggesting that based on where Liam's body was found, it seems like he might not have even been conscious when he fell.
Wow. So we have like these conflicting accounts already. And then to add another layer to this, the prosecutor also noted that there was a lack of reflexive posture in Liam's injuries,
Mm-hmm.
which is, basically that natural instinct to like protect yourself when you fall.
Right, you brace yourself.
You put your arms out,
Yeah.
you try to,
Yeah, exactly.
So what does that tell us?
Well, it's definitely significant, right? I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. When you trip, your instinct is to stop yourself from hitting the ground as hard as possible.
Yeah. And the fact that reaction was absent, especially combined with, the state of the room being torn apart, it really suggests that maybe this wasn't a straightforward intentional jump.
Right.
It kind of raises these questions about Liam's, state of mind, his awareness. What was actually going on in those final moments?
It makes you wonder if he was even aware of what was happening. And that's where sadly we need to start, considering all the possibilities here, especially when we look at what we know about Liam's past struggles with with mental health, with alcohol.
Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it? Looking back, trying to fit these pieces together, and it's so easy to feel like, gosh, the signs were there. Maybe we should have seen this coming. Maybe something more could have been done. But it's also really important to remember that, Liam wasn't completely silent about his struggles.
No, not at all. He did talk about it and quite openly in some cases. Like, remember that interview he did, Aunt Middleton and Liam Payne,
Yeah.
straight talking?
Right.
There's that moment, and it's really poignant when you go back and listen to it now. He says, there's times where that level of loneliness and people getting into you every day, every so often, you're like, when will this end? That's almost nearly killed me a couple of times.
Wow.
And the way he says it, you can like hear it in his voice.
The rawness.
The rawness, the exhaustion, it's really palpable.
It's like he's describing loneliness as this physical thing, this weight that's just bearing down on him.
Yeah.
And it actually makes me think about a while back I was working on this huge project, right? Deadlines, just looming, and I was just completely overwhelmed. And I remember having this thought, like, I just need this feeling to stop. And obviously my experience was nothing like the scale of what Liam was going through, but I guess it gave me just this tiny glimpse, this little understanding of that kind of desperation that you can hear in his voice.
Absolutely. And I think what's so powerful about Liam's admission, you hear this from a lot of artists, is that, the pressures of fame, the constant scrutiny, this feeling of having to perform all the time, the lack of privacy, all of that just fuels this sense of isolation.
Right.
And it creates this kind of perfect storm for mental health struggles.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have the coping mechanisms, which in Liam's case, he was very open about his reliance on alcohol.
Right. On the Diary of a CEO, he talked about that.
Exactly.
He described it as throwing a party for one in his hotel room just to kind of deal with the frustration, the pressure, the loneliness. It's this really sad image, right? Like surrounded by people, surrounded by fans, but still feeling completely alone.
Yeah, and it really highlights the tragedy of it all, right? The very thing that brought him so much success, the fame, the adoration, all of that could also be a source of such deep pain. And I think it's just a heartbreaking reminder that behind the polished image of celebrity, there's a real person
Yeah.
struggling with real things.
And it's, it's in those moments when we're forced to kind of confront the human being, behind the fame, that I think those tributes from the people who knew Liam best, they become even more powerful, more poignant.
Oh, absolutely. Like when Harry Styles talked about how Liam just lived his life, with his heart on his sleeve,
Yeah.
and how he had this energy for life that was infectious, and such a contrast to this image of isolation and struggle that we've been, kind of unpacking.
Right.
But it also speaks to how complex Liam's story really is.
It does, and it reminds us that, even amidst the darkness, there were these moments of joy, of connection, of real, genuine passion.
Yeah.
And that just makes it, that much harder to process, I think. When you hear, Louis Tomlinson calling Liam, the most vital part of One Direction,
Yeah.
highlighting his talent and just admitting how much he looked up to him. I mean, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah. And it really speaks to the impact that Liam had, not just, as a musician, but as a person.
Right.
Even Zayn Malik, who is, hasn't exactly been, the closest to the band these past few years.
Right.
Even he shared a story about Liam's kindness, back when they were young
Yeah.
and just starting out
Yeah.
and dealing with being away from home and feeling homesick.
Yeah.
And it just reinforces this image of Liam as someone who really did care about the people around him.
Yeah. It makes you think about all those other sides of him, you know, that we didn't get to see. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway for me from all of this idea that we really only ever see just this tiny fraction of who someone truly is.
Right.
We form these opinions and they're based on headlines or these little glimpses into their public lives, but we forget that there's this whole universe beneath the surface.
Yeah.
This whole universe of thoughts and feelings and struggles that we might never fully understand.
It's a powerful reminder. And honestly, it's not just about celebrities, right?
No.
It's about how in our own lives, how often do we do that to each other?
Yeah.
Make assumptions about people based
Yeah.
on this limited information.
Yeah.
How often do we miss the signs?
Right.
The subtle hints that someone might be hurting?
Yeah.
And Liam's story, as tragic as it is, I think it challenges us to look a little deeper,
Yeah.
to listen a little more intently,
Hmm.
and to approach each other with a bit more empathy and understanding.
It's a call to action, isn't it? I mean, if Liam's story can make us think differently about the pressures of fame, shouldn't it also make us kind of look inward at how we treat each other, how we offer support, how we approach our own mental well-being?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just maybe something positive can come from this horrible tragedy if it inspires us to be a little more present, a little more compassionate, a little more willing to extend a helping hand to those who need it most.
Couldn't agree more. It's about creating this culture of empathy.
Yeah.
This understanding that everyone, no matter who they are, no matter their status, their success, everyone deserves to be met with understanding and support.
Well said. And on that note, I think we're gonna leave you with that thought.
Yeah.
Take care of yourselves, check in on your loved ones, and remember, you're not alone. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.